Cowabunga, and welcome to this tutorial of TMNT Shredder's Revenge featuring Master Splinter. Okay, we're going to be going over all of Splinter's moves and combos that make him one of the best characters in this game, especially for co-op. Let's go. So if you took a look at his power ratings, he's got a 2 for range, which is definitely true. 1 for speed, which is really the only character that has a 1 for movement speed besides Donnie, where his speed is more of his attack speed. And finally, his 3 for power, which is really a 4. Nobody hits as hard as Splinter in this game. All right, so if you take a look at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to be seeing the attack move that we're going to be using, as well as the damage values. So for Splinter's combo attack, he's going to do 1 strike with his hand, 1 strike with his staff that's going to have a lot of range. He's going to do a downward chop that's going to put enemies in the air. And then finally, he's going to use a bite that multi-hits, which is very good for building meter. And we all know that building meter in this game gives you supers, and supers just do a ton of damage. Let's just take a look real quick. Nice. So even his regular chop, pretty good. You can see it's a little bit slow. There's 13 frames on startup for clicking the button to doing his immediate chop. All of his moves have a very slow startup, but they also do a ton of damage. So if we take a look, there's also a different variant of his basic combo, and that one is his forward attack. You can see that Splinter puts out his staff. That's way more range, like compared to his regular strike here. It's just as fast. A little bit more recovery frames if you fail to hit something, but being able to go forward with this is a very great way of dealing with a lot of enemies. And you can see because he goes closer to the enemies, it works incredibly well. All right, so now we're going to be going into his money-making move. This is his shoulder bash, the double tap forward into an attack. You can see there's a lot of movement here. It's actually a really good way to move around the screen. That's one thing about it. It also acts as an anti-air. Not quite as good as Donatello's shoulder bash, his elbow move. That's the God elbow, but this is still really good. It's actually very similar to Leonardo's shoulder bash. His shoulder bash actually doesn't do damage throughout this entire time that he's hitting, but this is actually I think the only move right now in the game that does 3 points of damage. Also, it's a ground pound move, which is very helpful for moving the screen along, because as soon as you consider an enemy dead, which is an enemy that's in the air and has been taken full damage, then you get to keep on going forward. In addition, you can double shoulder bash on bosses and a couple of other enemy types like the laser discs. And because of that, this shoulder bash is incredibly good. Before we were talking about shoulder bash into basic combo, the fastest move that you can do is shoulder bash, give me a second, into rising attack as a combo. Come on, these guys are just being mean. So if you want to instantly kill an enemy, that's what you want to do. Okay, but shoulder bash, really good, tons of damage. It's going to be our main move that we're going to be using in the run. All right, next is his sliding attack. So his sliding attack does 2 points of damage. It's a little bit slow. It does no additional properties. He doesn't knock things into the air. It's very similar to April's. And it's a very good move, but most enemies just straight up ignore it. But you can go into rising attack afterwards, which is really nice, and other basic combos. So really, when shoulder bash can't be used and you need to avoid some projectiles, sliding attack is your way to go. Next is his backflip flying attack. By using dodge and then attack, you can hit your enemies. You can see that there's a lot of auto tracking on this move, meaning that if you're not aligned with an enemy, the game will try to put you towards that enemy. But it's very slow, and it's probably one of his weakest moves. So we use it for bosses and avoiding things, but that's really it. Next is his heavy swing. So after any attack, you can hold the attack button, and you can also charge it by holding it longer. You can see that little planking motion. And by doing that, he does 4 damage instead of the usual 2. This attack has a lot of range as far as the vertical motion, so this hits above and below Splinter, and it's actually still used quite a bit by players, because it's still pretty darn good. There are also other ways to charge it. There's a fast charge by doing back for flip flying attack into an enemy, and you can also get a full charge by doing a full combo. But most enemies will already be dead from Splinter after getting a full combo. It just does so much, like his full combo does more damage than the rest of the cast. All right, moving on. Let's talk about his rising attack. So rising attack with Splinter is very good. We already talked about how good it is in combination with the shoulder bash. It does 2 damage, and also because Splinter is a great dive kick user, we'll be seeing a lot of that kind of thing as well. But just a great combo ender, way to gain meter, and way to finish up screens. All right, let's go into his throws. We have his shoulder throw, where you just grab an enemy up by just walking near them and then just hitting them, bringing them to the side. It's pretty fast, does 2 damage. I mean, throws are not used that much in this game, but you do get iframes on it, so they can still be useful in some forms of the game. And with how fast Splinters is, it's pretty good for episode 7 when there's actual pits to deal with. So next is the fleeing toss. Same thing, you just hold forward towards the towards the screen. You can see you have iframes on there as well, and you just get rid of 1 enemy off the screen. So that's standard across all characters. But this is the Fling Slam. It does a total of 2 damage, and look how slow it is. This is a move you want to use if you want to show off, and that is really it. Once again, it does have iframes, so that's always nice. All right, and let's finally go into his dive attack. So his dive kick does 2 damage. It doesn't have any other properties, but when you can knock things into like walls and those types of things, it's still pretty useful. And 2 damage will take down a good number of enemies, and you can always dive kick into rising attack for a total of 4. So dive kick with Splinter is very good, but because it doesn't have any, real multi-hit properties, finishing off enemies with it ain't that good, and still shoulder bash is one of the best ways to handle things. All right, next is his somersault slice. You do a double jump by clicking jump button twice, and then you can do up to 3 hits in the air. Not terribly used too often in the run, but it's there. All right, let's talk about his taunt. So if you don't have meter for whatever reason, then you can use the taunt button, and you'll get a full bar meter. This taunt is the 3rd fastest in the game after Raphael and Michelangelo, and because Splinter has some of the best supers in the game, having a fast taunt is so helpful for him and makes him incredibly good for co-op. All right, so let's talk about his standing super. So his standing super hits everything kind of in a rectangle around him, and it also does, so it also multi-hits, which allows you to scroll the screen a little bit quicker if you hit enemies multiple times. And in addition, it just generally has a really long active window. So I'm gonna try to show it off here. So that's about so it's about like if you did it mid-screen. Let's see if we can get all of these enemies. So just trying to eye it a little bit here, trying to spread them out. That's pretty good. So he also hits enemies in the air. It's just an incredibly powerful super. And if that super don't work, we also have the universal dive super, which hits above and below, all over. Just gonna try to get some space here. The enemies are not letting me taunt today. There we go, got it. So these guys, there we go, that's perfect. You can see that it hits above and below him, and then also right and left. Dive supers are just incredibly good. Now this is his backflip flying super. So after a dodge roll, you can do this kind of like Akuma style super that just does a ton of damage. Does a total of 15, which is the most out of any super in the game. But the first hit does potentially knock down. So against some bosses, sometimes you want to knock them down and then backflip flying super. This backflip flying super is so good that sometimes it makes sense to just taunt, use it, taunt, and use it on like all of the enemies in the, like, not the enemies, but on the bosses in this game. It also multi-hits, so this allows you to scroll the screen a little bit faster, and it'll also allow Splinter to 2-cycle Super Shredder. Backflip flying super with Splinter is just crazy. Man, that's just the, and that's everything we need to know. I guess it's time to get into the play. Alrighty, let's show what Splinter can do. Alright, we're gonna go forward. We're gonna shoulder bash, full combo, rising attack. That builds us enough meter to use that dive super, and that is a very good way of dealing with enemies for sure. Part 2, the return of the dive super. Alright, back here, full combo. Dive kick and slide, it works really well against those particular enemies. They're grouped up nicely. Now we can then do dive super here. Wait for the screen to scroll just so, and then you can dive kick that guy right into the other one. Groups them incredibly nicely. We're going to be using this dive super for the enemies that are ahead of us and behind us. I like to use a slide here. It's a really nice way to group enemies and makes it much easier to full com. So I'm in a full combo here. And dive super. We have one little straggler. But luckily we have a good amount of meter. Alright, not bad there. We're gonna dive kick this. Get those guys in the air one more time so we can scroll the screen. Pop, pop. Nice. Pop, pop. Pop, pop. And we're gonna show how good this is in anti-air sometimes. Like, just like that. And under. And another dive super. Hits above and below. Hit this. Pop, pop. Showing how good that dive kick is there. Alright, now we're gonna pop, pop. We're gonna wait for this guy to come back. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, 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 rising attack. Alright, and let's just show how good Splinter is at evaporating bosses. So, shoulder bash, 1, twice, back, forward. Dodge super. And he's gone. Incredibly good. You have plenty of time to get that extra taunt off and just rip another dodge super right in the Bebop's face. So that was pretty good for Splinter. And with that concludes all of the tutorials for the TMNT Shredder's Revenge cast. Until later on in the year, which we'll be seeing Usagi Yojimbo and a couple more characters make it to the game. In a couple days, we'll probably do a quick analysis of Usagi Yojimbo based on what we saw in the trailer. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And if you want to keep track of what's going on in the channel, if you're not subscribed already, that is the best way to do so to keep track of everything. And we'll be doing more TMNT Shredder's Revenge runs, speed runs, challenge runs, all that kind of stuff on this channel in the future. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. So catch y'all next time.